happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands. Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands. Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands. Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands. Who ate the apple? What happened?
All right. We are live once again here on Reasoned Answers, your home for the
crackhead clown individuals.
Today and all of November, we are celebrating Islamophobia Awareness Month, this very important month to make people aware of apparently why they are afraid of Islam. It's news to me that I'm afraid of Islam. Certainly, I oppose Islam, but we thought, why not embrace it? Why not tell people why they should be afraid of Islam? And in particular, Muslims, why they should be afraid of Islam. And what better example for Muslims than their so-called Prophet Muhammad, who himself was very, very afraid all the time. And not only was he afraid, because, that wouldn't necessarily be something that would count against him, but he was afraid of the exact things that he said that his God would do to unbelievers, to people in rebellion against him. It's almost like he knew that he was a false prophet and thus should be very afraid of the true God taking a vengeance upon him. And by consequence, Muslims should definitely be very afraid that they are serving a false God. So we are here to help them cure their fear of Islam by getting them out of their false religion. We, of course, have Mary with us today.
She has some scary intellectual abilities to pour through massive amounts of sources and information, and is pretty brutal. If she weren't so busy doing other stuff, I think she would be wrecking Islam by herself.
Welcome, Mary. What would you like to say as introduction?
So I am going to begin framing a lot of these issues as dilemmas because people seem to grasp those really easily. So I'm going to be carefully laying out a dilemma for you here, that this one alone proves that Muhammad did not believe himself to be a true prophet, that he identified himself as a false prophet and knew he was saying things against Allah, and that the God that he said he believed in, he also feared was going to come and punish him for being in rebellion against him. So this alone, there are many, many arguments against Islam. This one alone tells you that Islam is false. It's going to be a nice short stream. I'm going to start doing kind of more frequent, shorter streams, and we will rather than bring up 5 or 6 things that might be hard to remember, I'm bringing up one thing that should be easy for everybody to remember.
Houston wants to know which month is the month for irrational fear of Islam, since a phobia is an irrational fear, and that kind of depends. If you're talking from a worldly perspective, that's of course every month, because it's very rational to fear a religion that wants to violently subjugate and or kill you. But if you're talking from a Christian perspective, of course, we have nothing to be afraid of, because the God of Islam is not real or is a demon, depending on your perspective there. But either way, can do nothing against the true God, can do nothing against the believer in an absolute sense. That doesn't mean that a Muslim terrorist can't take the life of a Christian, but they can't affect our eternal destination. Is this a Catholic channel? What Christian are these? So this is this is a Christian channel. That is all it is. It is not Protestant. It is not Catholic. It is not Orthodox. It is a Christian channel. We don't get into denominational differences because ultimately we are all Christians, not you, obviously. But I am glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in again after finding the channel last night, Mr. Rekti Muslim. Do appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you'll learn something about your prophet today. Quran Only Fans said, I will prophesy that Thaddeus will have long hair. You are correct. You are a true prophet. Oh, wait, except you said and will have a t-shirt with a cross on it, which you actually are wrong, because today I have on a lion shirt instead. It is not a cross on the shirt. It is a Lion King. So you were wrong. You have failed at being a true prophet. Sorry. But Quran Only Fans did say the God is dead idea that you shared in the last stream last night. If you didn't see that, check that out with David S. He went through, he was covering his book that has 10 philosophical dilemmas that prove that Allah cannot be God. Allah is dead. And we went through 3 of them officially yesterday. Probably covered about 6 or 7 different ideas, things that came up and were related to the, technical phrasing of it. Either way, check that out. Some great material there. I'm very pleased with how that one went. We had some nice Muslims in the chat, including Rikti, who came back today. And we had some nice interactions with them, which demonstrates that this is a way to have discussions with friendly Muslims.
All right. I am ready to jump
All right.
into
So we're going to jump right into Muhammad's fear of rain, the fear dilemma.
Yep. So phrasing this as a dilemma, we have a very simple situation. Allah and Muhammad both teach that those who are rightly guided do not fear or sorrow when either the hour or a painful torment come to the people. The painful torment only come and strike against the unbelievers. The hour is only bad news for unbelievers. So no one who follows Muhammad and no one who follows Allah should be afraid when either the hour, the end of the world, or some kind of calamity that Allah sends, a painful torment, comes upon the people. However, Muhammad was terrified of the possibility that a painful torment might have come. Anytime he saw something that made him think that there was a possibility of a coming painful torment, he was frightened. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was routine. This was every time he saw a rain cloud, he was terrified because he thought it might be a painful torment. This means that either Muhammad believed himself to not be rightly guided, or Allah's and Muhammad's word on who is to fear and who fears and who sorrows can't be trusted. Thus, Muhammad was not rightly guided, because if we can't trust what Allah says through Muhammad, then Muhammad isn't a true prophet. If Muhammad himself is scared of Allah's wrath, then Muhammad is not a true prophet. Either way, Muhammad is not a true prophet. You cannot escape this. So,
Tyler Sweet admitting he's not a true prophet either, because he says he's scared of rain. only when I don't want my hair to frizz. Maybe that's what Muhammad's real problem was. Maybe he was afraid that his hair would look bad after all the humidity from the rainstorm and whatnot.
All right. So, around 618-ish, a little bit before he kind of began to introduce this idea, but this idea became central to Muhammad's theology around 618. While Abu Talib was very, very sick, most of the Quraysh want to throw Muhammad out of Mecca. Al-Abbas is also telling Muhammad that he's going to have to go, whenever I become, because Abu Talib was the leader of Muhammad's clan. And he had been putting the whole clan up in trouble and getting backlash because he wasn't letting people kick out Muhammad. And he was protecting Muhammad from everybody wanting to throw him out. And he's on his, he's headed toward death now. And in some of these, he's already dead. In others, he is not dead yet. We're going to look at a variety of verses. But Al-Abbas is saying that, hey, look, I like you. I don't want you to die, but you're just causing problems here. You're going to need to leave when Abu Talib dies. I'm not going to stand here in between you and the rest of the Quraysh this whole time. You're going to have to go somewhere else. And your followers can go with you, or they might not. My son's with you, and I care about him, but you are just causing way too many problems. You got to leave Mecca. And Muhammad was in absolute denial about this. He had gained some sympathy from the Quraysh by changing his early theology, which said that I do not worship what you worship. You do not worship what I worship. That I am worshiping a different God than you, Al-Harb. He changed it and said, well, now your problem is not that you're worshiping a different God. Your problem is that Allah, you're just wrong about him having daughters. And he is the God that we're worshiping. And that's what's going on. So you can believe in Allah because Allah is Al-Rab. And this pagan shrine, well, it's really a shrine of Abraham. So all of that's fine. You just have to give up the additional gods. Briefly, he said that the three daughters of Allah were like exalted cranes, and they can be intercessors. They're like these angelic figures. But then he got backlash from his own people who were like, what are you saying, Muhammad? All this time you've been saying that you have to worship Allah alone. So why are you saying that we can send prayers with these angels now? And they'll listen. And they said, oh, wait, Satan tricked me. Allah didn't say that. I take those back. This is all in the context.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah,
when,
it just
when
happens
true
all the time.
prophets are tricked by Satan. I mean, that is just the worst. Such a shame that happens.
Bit confusing. So he said, Allah didn't send me that. Satan tricked me. Satan tricked me on that, and I'm gonna pull back from that. But now he's making some of the Quraysh really angry because now he's saying that after talking about Al-Rab, I don't worship what you worship. Well, now they're bowing, they're worshiping at the Kaaba again. And while they began praying toward Jerusalem after a while, they're still worshiping at the Kaaba. They're still directing prayers there and doing their thing while denying the rest of the gods and really making people mad. So Muhammad.
So we do have a response. So this is Rikdi. He said he was going to switch accounts. His other account is apparently Joshua. I don't know if that's his real name or what, but Joshua thinks this is a reply. He's put it in multiple times, quoting the Quran. Say, O Muhammad, I am not a new thing among the messengers, nor do I know what will be done with me or with you. I only follow what is revealed to me, and I am only a clear warner. I guess because Muhammad's supposed to say he doesn't know what's going to be done with him. That is why he thinks this is a reply or a valid pushback.
That you will see why that doesn't hold true. Muhammad also guaranteed paradise to tons of people. So if this is saying that Muhammad can't guarantee paradise to anyone, then Muhammad's God lies sometimes. That's it. That's it. So, there's a list of people to whom paradise was guaranteed. If you're saying that this means that he can't say whether or not Allah is going to cause him fear and sorrow, then you'll have to say that he is lying when he told people that. There's also the fact that he says, I am not a new thing among the messengers. I am not, what is that Arabic word? Bid'ah. There's no bid'ah in Muhammad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's huge number of things that are new. Saying that his God is the God of this pagan shrine is something utterly new. Associating the God of Abraham with a shrine is completely new. The idea of messengers coming to a people in their own language, that is entirely new. Muhammad made it up. Muhammad didn't really understand the historical background for anything, and so got confused and thought that there was this, each group gets their own messenger in their own language, saying huge amounts of Islam is bid'ah, and yet he's supposed to be nothing innovative, nothing new. Very interesting stuff. All right, so we're going to go kind of quickly through a whole bunch of different verses where Muhammad expounds upon his basic theology of torment and the hour causing pain and sorrow to the disbelievers, and no pain, no sorrow, no grief, no fear or sorrow will come to the believers. So
Joshua says it's called humility. Yes, demonstrate you some humility and watch the rest of the stream to actually understand. And no, don't just like watch, but actually pay attention and try to understand why this is problematic.
Yep. So he talks about how he's just like everybody else. Thank you for bringing that up. Everything that Muhammad does is he's like, I'm like every other prophet. I'm just like them, even though he's not, because he doesn't know what the prophets were like. He'll talk about, how many a prophet we sent among the ancients, but not a prophet came to them without that they mocked him. So every prophet who comes is made fun of. So we destroyed men stronger in valor than they, and the example of the ancients that are passed away. So this is the basic theology of Muhammad, that Allah allows the disbelievers to be puffed up and wealthy for a short time, only to send torment and horrible things upon them when they reject him. So the pattern is there's a city, it begins to get wealthy, and it begins to feel self-sufficient and cocky. Then Allah sends to it a messenger, and a lot of the people reject him. Very variable numbers, up to like, I forget whether or not the minimum's 2 or none, but to a reasonable portion of the population follow, and then the rest reject. And then Allah comes and smites the disbelievers and causes horrible things to happen to them, does not do it to the believers. Another example of this basic theology is given again in the same surah. Even so, we sent never before thee any warner to any city, except that its men who lived at ease said, we indeed found our fathers upon a community, so we're following upon their traces. So basically they're saying that the men who are living well, every time that warners get sent, say, hey, we're going to follow what our fathers did because we're living well now, so we should follow our fathers' examples. And then the prophet then says, well, I'm going to give you a better guidance than what your fathers followed. And then they're disbelieved. So Allah takes vengeance upon them. And that is the end of them. They're wiped out. This is the pattern that is established. So this is what Muhammad was running around Mecca saying would happen. That, hey, Allah is about to send judgment. And he's going to smite you and destroy you because the prophets come. And you guys who don't follow will be destroyed. So in 6, again, These other people cried lies to the truth when it came to them, but there shall come to them news of what they were mocking, which basically means that the arrival of Allah's vengeance is going to come to them. Haven't you, have they not regarded how we destroyed before them many a generation? We established on the earth as we never established you. So we gave these people such nice things that you couldn't even dream of. These people had rivers flowing underground under them, because remember, Muhammad think about rivers. Thaddeus, he thinks that rivers do what?
Well, he thinks that there is no such thing as a permanent above ground river. He seems to think that the seasonal streams or rivers that you see in dry, arid regions during the rainy part are underground the rest of the year, and then they just come back up. I don't quite understand how anyone could not realize that the rain is what's causing the river, but that does seem to be what Muhammad thinks, that rivers go underground and then every once in a while they come back above ground.
Yep.
Very strange.
So that's why he says that these people, they have all these rivers that flow beneath them and then, pop up into little oases and things like that, which you don't have. And they would get plenteous rain. This loosed heaven upon them in torrents is a rather bad translation. It just means that rain was sent down upon them, wonderful showers. This is a good thing. So the rivers and the rain are good things. These other people had things that are so good that you can't even imagine them. But we destroyed them because of their sins, and we raised after them another generation. And if Allah had sent down a book on parchment, so they touch it with their hands, the unbelievers still would have said it's just sorcery. Then when they ask, why isn't there an angel? He said that they would, but if they sent down an angel, then people would be condemned right away for not believing. But now there's a respite. You get a break before being smitten with judgment. And if I'd sent down an angel, then he'd look like a man and you would have thought he was a man anyway. And messengers were mocked at before Muhammad, but those that scoffed at them were encompassed by what they mocked at. So basically, Allah came, brought his terrible punishment upon the people who disbelieve in a messenger. Every time there's a messenger, what happens? Terrible punishment comes to them. Divine punishment comes through wind, through an earthquake, through fire, through stones, through floods, and destroys all the people who don't believe in that messenger within the city region. And that's why it says, say, look around in the land. Look at what happened to everyone else who had denied messengers before. All of the ruins that you guys go through. Well, that's because those people denied messengers and they were destroyed. It's going to happen to you too. So, Joshua, I have a question for you. You got to be paying attention, hon. If you don't pay attention, this is not going to help you. Muhammad taught that when messengers come, they come with warnings to their own people in their own language. They are rejected by some people, and then Allah sends divine, supernatural torment to destroy the unbelievers. When did that happen in Muhammad's life? No, don't talk about which things are. This is not ambiguous, honey. This is very easy.
He's actually tagging someone else in the chat who's asking him why the Quran is so confusing. So he is actually responding to something said at him. But this is very funny because he says Quran actually mock you for not sincere and accepting clear message, and then he quotes the Quran saying that it's not clear, right? The Quran claims that parts of the Quran are very unclear. And he says, oh, you're so silly for saying the Quran is unclear. Look, the Quran says it's unclear. Yeah. No cargo crew. The username or @ symbol is not something in my control. It's a change that YouTube has decided
to make again.
they've gone back and forth on
Yep.
this a few times, but they're back to doing the ads. There's several possibilities as to why they would do that. One is that it makes it more difficult for people to have spam usernames that are like, visit this website for hot girls or whatever.
Yep.
The other is impersonation, because you can have the same name and the same profile picture as someone else, so you can look like them. I don't know what they're trying to combat for sure, or if it will be back. All I know is that it's not something in my control.
All right. So again, he says messengers were cried lies before these. So basically, people used to say, before you, Muhammad, a lot of people would deny the messengers and would call them liars. Yet they endured it patiently, and even though they were hurt, our help would come to them and do what? What would their help do? Destroy all the unbelievers. No man can change the words of Allah, and there's already come to these some tidings of the messengers. So basically, these messengers came. You already know about all of these other messengers who defeated those who opposed them and everything else. So if their turning away is distressful for you, well, you can do any miracle and they just won't believe. Why? Because Allah has chosen for them not to believe. So don't be sad, Muhammad. Nothing you can do can change what Allah has determined. Allah has chosen whoever believes, and Allah has chosen whoever disbelieves. So don't be worried about it. You don't suck as a messenger. Abu Talib died as an unbeliever because I wanted him to go to hell. I wanted him to die as the man who protected you and who kept you from other Quraysh hurting you. I wanted him to die as an unbeliever and go to hell. So it's not your fault. You're not a bad messenger, Muhammad. I just wanted him to go to hell really badly. So
I mean, Allah is like that. You know, he just wants some people to go to hell and he just wants other people to go to heaven. And as a result, what they do doesn't really matter, right? They could be the worst person ever and Allah will still send them to paradise, or they could be the best person ever and he'll still send them to hell.
I mean,
that's just the way that Allah rolls. I mean,
it says here again, whoever Allah wills, he leads astray. So the reason why people don't believe in Allah is why? Because Allah has tricked them. He has deliberately led them into deception. So I don't know why you're crying and saying, you should believe because it's clear. No. Allah says that he tricks people and he wants them to go to hell. So Abu Talib is in hell because Allah really wanted the man who carefully kept Muhammad from being thrown out way before. He wanted him in hellfire really badly, and that's why he's in hell, according to this. So your basic late Meccan theology is that Muhammad is hanging around waiting for Allah to bring terrible torment on the people or the end of the world. One or the other is about to happen because Muhammad, this is the last place where the message needs to be spread because the whole rest of the world has already had their messengers. Muhammad is the last messenger, not because he's a messenger for everyone. No, he is a messenger for the mother of cities and the very close area around it. And he is the last one. Everywhere else has already gotten their messenger. They have become monotheists or they have been destroyed. That is what's happened everywhere else in the world except for Mecca. Mecca is the last human settlement to get a place. So at any moment, the pattern could change. It might not just be chastisement, the painful torment of Allah destroying the unbelievers. It could be the end of the world because there's nothing more to wait for. So that's why Muhammad is saying that Allah is saying that if Allah's chastisement, that means the destruction of the unbelievers, or the hour comes upon you, would you guys call upon other than Allah during this time? Because remember, they're pagans, but their high God is Allah, so they would probably call on their high God. They're like, he's like, oh, don't you understand that you should only worship Allah since this is your high God? Why are you calling on anyone else who isn't as strong? Is what this argument is coming on. All right. And so that's his argument for monotheism. You already know that this pagan god is the strongest god. So why are you still considering his daughters worthy of worship too? Don't you know you're just confused that he has daughters, et cetera, et cetera. So they are they're talking about the patterns of the nations before. Again, we seize them with misery and hardship so that they could be humble. When our might came up, but only if they had been humble when our might came upon them, but their hearts were hard. And then because they chose to be arrogant, we gave them the gates of everything. We gave them nice stuff. So this is the same pattern as the rain coming in the rivers and everything's lovely until we seize them suddenly and they were sore confounded. They were, the chastisement comes and they're utterly unprepared. They think that they are safe and they are not, right? Mm-hmm. And they were cut off. They were destroyed. So he goes on with other arguments and he says that we do not send the envoys except to bear good tidings and warning. Whoever believes and makes amends, no fear shall be on them, neither shall they sorrow. So they do not fear, they do not sorrow when the believers, when these horrible things happen. Those who cry lie to our signs, well, the chastisement, the painful torment is going to hit them and they're ungodly and they actually suffer. So there's a dichotomy here. When this punishment comes, everybody, what happens to the people who follow Allah? Are they fearful and do they sorrow? No, they're the ones who don't. The ones who don't follow Allah, when this painful torment comes, when the chastisement comes, when Allah sends floods or hail or rocks from the sky or wind or earthquakes, what happens to them? They are destroyed. So they're fearful and grieving and all sorrowing, all sorts of things. So here's our dichotomy. Believers, no fear, no sorrow. Unbelievers, fear, sorrow, distress, destruction.
Mm-hmm. So this is important, right? This is important here. The Quran, supposedly the words of Allah, is setting up a test, a pattern that if you are a true believer, you will behave in a particular way when Allah's judgment comes. And then we have Muhammad acting a particular way when he thinks Allah's judgment is coming. Obviously, Allah's judgment doesn't actually come, but when he thinks Allah's judgment might be coming, he acts in a particular way, which is in contradiction to the way a believer is supposed to ask. Joshua just said, not in relation to anything you're saying, but still highly relevant. Who cares about the small things? Well, the small things is what proves the Quran to be false, or proves Islam to be false. Sure. I'll give you, for the sake of argument, although I don't think it's actually true, that the broad general message of the Quran is clear. So what? The broad general message of every religion is clear. Being clear doesn't mean it's true. You have to actually look at the details to determine whether something is true or not. And the details, Muhammad's fear, as we're talking about today, prove that Islam is false. I did also want to clear up something here from the real Rob. He says early Muslims, I think, were using Muhammad, meaning praised one, as a reference to Jesus.
No, they were not.
They were Unitarians with no understanding of the Trinity and a belief in a single God. Not a word you said there is accurate. We have many videos on this. It's not an attack. You said, I think. Why don't you actually do some research, right? I don't know if you got this from Jay Smith or someone else, but Jay Smith can be very convincing if you only hear him talk. If you actually look at the evidence, however, there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever of this. And it is honestly offensive to Christ for you to be saying that Muhammad is a title for Jesus, because you are taking the false demonic prophet Muhammad and attributing what people say about him, saying, oh, people are just saying that about Jesus, even though they say all kinds of things that I would consider highly offensive and disgusting when applied to Jesus.
Right.
So that would be my
it is
advice.
Completely untrue. The Muhammadan Rasulullah must be a name. It cannot be anything else. It must be a name, a regular human name. All Arabic names have meanings. This name was attested among pre-Islamic Arabs, including in writing, where it's attested as the name of a woman. It's a regular name. It's not a reference to Jesus. It is never used in any text, anywhere, at any time, in any language as a reference to Jesus. Ever. Not in Aramaic, not in Hebrew, not in Arabic, not in Old South Arabian, not in modern South Arabian. It is never used in reference to Jesus in any ancient source. Ever.
And by Hari says, yes, Muhammad is a title.
No, it's not.
There's no evidence of that. And there's very strong linguistic evidence that it's an impossibility. There's no evidence it was ever used as a title. There's definitely evidence it was used of real people. Even whether or not you think that the purported founder of Islam is a real person, it was definitely used of real people. It's found on gravestones that predate Muhammad or predate Islam.
Dead pagans are named Muhammad with gravestones. Muhammad, son of somebody or another, let Atar, the male Venus god, strike them down if they muck with my gravestone. Like that's a grave. They're dead pagans, dead Christian women. Just her regular name is the same name. So it is lacking the it's lacking the determinative that was required for a title is not a title. It is not written about Jesus. It's just not.
Yeah, there's no evidence whatsoever this was ever applied to Jesus or used as a title for anyone else for that matter. That is just speculation. If I'm being generous, it's speculation without concrete evidence for it. So to act like this is established fact is just factually incorrect.
Yeah.
So Real Rob says, I'm a Christian. Right. So I never doubted that. And I'm not attacking you, Real Rob. But look at what's written on the Dome of the Rock. We haven't actually done a video on the Dome of the Rock yet. We will at some point.
It's pathetic to claim that, honestly. There are things written about Jesus on the Dome of the Rock attacking Jesus because it's in Jerusalem, which is where Jesus died. And so Muslims are animals and have to attack Jesus even there.
What do you mean that it makes no sense that Muhammad is not the father of any of your men, rather the seal of the prophets? That makes zero sense. Why would that make zero sense? There was a common pagan belief that prophethood was inherited, that it would be passed from child to child. So part of the reason why it's a big deal that Muhammad doesn't have any male children that live to adulthood is because it means there can't be any inherited prophethood from him. It's a very pagan belief. It's completely consistent with a real 7th century Arabian individual. And where is Jesus ever called the seal of the prophets?
Yeah, no kidding. And it's also, you never have Jesus mentioned on the outer octagonal arcade. So Jesus is attacked on the inner arcade. He's not mentioned at all in the outer arcade.
So Tawheed Islam, welcome. He says pagan is one who worship idol of human. No, that's not true. Why don't you go ahead and look up what the definition of pagan is? Tawheed Islam. And then you'll see that by definition, Islam is in fact a pagan religion.
And
it
by the way,
doesn't actually mean that much, but hey.
Just to be clear, there is a mistranslation. The sources, the person talking about Waraqah, He did not say that Muhammad encountered the same angel as Moses. He says that Muhammad is bringing the same law that Moses brought. So they falsely translate it to trick you that Waraka was affirming that Muhammad met an angel, but he actually says no such thing in the Arabic. It's very funny. Like they just lie about the translation. It's pretty funny.
And to answer Joshua's question, I'll take him at his word that this is a legitimate question here. I think he means, is John the Baptist a prophet in the Bible? Yes. Glad to clear that up for you.
All right. Now, let's move on. So, Muhammad said that he fears, if he rebels, the chastisement of the dreadful day. So he is fearing the painful torment of Allah under the condition of his own rebellion. So this is supposed to be a statement that he won't rebel because he would fear Allah on a day of chastisement if he rebelled from Allah. So if he is fearing Allah, what does this mean? It means that he knows in his heart that he is rebelling from God and that he is fabricating things and making things up, and he's not a true prophet. What's pretty funny is that and the people were going, okay, fine, Muhammad, you keep saying that this is going to happen to us. Why hasn't it happened? You've been here for years. You've been going on about this for years. No wind, no earthquake, no flood, no nothing. We haven't been swept away. What's going to make it happen? And Muhammad's like, well, if what you seek to hasten were with me, so if I had the power to do it, I would totally wipe you out. But Allah will do it on his own time. Allah is going to come and supernaturally destroy the people who oppose me, or who oppose him and oppose me, who do not recognize me as a prophet. So, Joshua, do you even have your volume on? Because
yeah, I was about to put it in the chat to him and Mello, or Leo. You know, I got to say both of them because it is going two ways.
Yep.
Guys, the discussion isn't whether or not God was in the burning bush in the Quran. That is not the subject of this video at all. Please, if you don't already have your volume on, turn your volume on and stop talk with the side chats, okay?
Yep. So please don't distract him. I want him to pay attention to this because he's going to run in circles about a lot of things, and let's give him fewer things to run in circles about this. You didn't say turn what on?
Yeah, I know. I just read my own comment there. I don't know how I missed the word volume, but you know.
All right. So, and then in another place, Allah is saying, how many of a city have we destroyed? Our might came upon it at night, or while they took their ease in the noontide, and they but cried when our might came upon them. We were evildoers. So Allah, all the cities, they're all destroyed because Allah went and destroyed all the unbelievers. And then at the end of another story, Shuaib, in case you might say, well, he could be sad about the other people. He could have fear or sorrow because he cares about other people. As if Muhammad wants to do anything but murder anyone who doesn't believe in him. But, you know, Abu Talib is the rare exception to murder everyone who doesn't believe in me. So Shuaib turned his back on them, one of the supposed prophets, and said, "Oh, my people, I have delivered to you the message of my Lord and advise you sincerely. How should I grieve for a people of unbelievers?" So this is even denying that he will have grief for the unbelievers. So true prophets will not sorrow, will not fear on their own behalf. They also do not sorrow for unbelievers because they deserve it. Okay?
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I tried to bring it up earlier, but you just something else and then went on and I let it drop. But I was going to say, well, maybe Muhammad was just really scared for, you know, his friends who were unbelievers when
he wants them all to die. I mean, he was sending people. Every time the Quraysh went to fight the Meccans, a lot of people wouldn't join. They didn't want to fight because they didn't want to kill friends and family. But all the people following Moses or Muhammad were like, no, we'll slit your throats. We'll kill you. We want you all to die. Brother, sister, mother, father, we'll kill them all. So, you know, there's quite the disjunction there. Muhammad's followers were bloodthirsty murderers from the beginning, and they do not grieve for those who are unbelievers because they are glad that horrible things are happening. Because remember, if I had the power to do it, I'd destroy you all, Muhammad says. He does not fear on their behalf. He doesn't sorrow on their behalf. He wants them all to die. Shuaib is expressing the same thing. How should I grieve for people of unbelievers? I'm not grieving for you. So
Tawhid here has a interesting pushback because he doesn't understand how dumb this statement actually is. We don't care about Waraka. Holy Quran and honesty of Prophet Muhammad are sufficient for us. Well, how do you know about this supposed honesty of Muhammad? Based on what his companion said about him, right? Based on what was handed down from generation to generation. So you can't just go, we don't care if all the other Muslims were liars and cheats and thieves and whatnot, dishonest and made stuff up, and even Muslims today distorting the words of the hadith, the Sahih hadith.
Yep.
Because, you know, he's on about this because you said the Arabic was mistranslated in what Waraka said. He's like, we don't care about any of that. We just care that Muhammad's honest. Well, you can't know that. You can't know that without all your hadith passed on by what people who you're constantly telling us are liars and dishonest. And how stupid are you Christians for taking them and believing them? They're all liars.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the definition of honest among Arabs was a completely different definition than what any other human being would have. Everyone else regarded all Arabs as filthy liars because they lied by the definition of anyone who thinks the truth is something like objective, that something is either true or untrue. In Arab culture, as in Islam now, flattering people and saying untrue things in a flattering way is considered an expression of honesty, while saying true but hurtful things is called slander. That's just part of your weird definition of what honesty is. So the fact that he distorts reality, you're still an honest person if you say false things. It's about how you do it in terms of making people, flattering the right people, being very magnanimous, showing yourself as this gracious person who lies about other people graciously. That is built into Islam, and that is built into Muhammad. So knowing whether or not what he said was true on a factual level has nothing to do with the conception of honesty in this culture. Nothing. Which
is very important, because that means that when people are describing him as honest, you don't actually know that he's telling the truth. You just know that they liked what he was saying, basically. So Delmi, with a very good point as well, we would have no Quran without Waraka misguiding Muhammad. I mean, if we're supposed to believe the hadith, and they apparently are authentic, they've been verified by hadith science, then Waraka is responsible for convincing Muhammad that he is a prophet. So you can't just say, I don't care if Waraka was a fraud and liar. I believe Muhammad.
But I would like to note to everyone that the only person's word we have about Waraka said at all comes from Aisha, who wasn't even born then, through Muhammad, how he chose to cast it when he lived in Medina. So there's already this huge opportunity for misdirection, but there's also the very important part where it says, I will totally support you if it becomes known that you are a prophet while I'm alive. So that shows that Waraka died before Muhammad was like, I'm a prophet, everybody. Waraka totally told me I was. Who's dead? And you can't even ask him. Islam has no witnesses. You need witnesses to Muhammad's prophethood, not just people interpreting things. The only witness you have to Muhammad having gotten something from Allah is Muhammad. That's not an acceptable standard for anything. You can't prove anything in Islamic court based on that. So even you guys know that this is a fraudulent standard that Muhammad applies to himself. And when people ask for other witnesses or miracles to witness for him, they're just like, nah, won't do that. All right, let's go ahead and no, there were lots of other people who were
Yeah, don't worry about.
Hanifa and cultists of various sorts. Tons of people in Mecca who were realizing that paganism was, that their traditional pagan world was shrinking and dying, and they were going to die with it if they didn't adapt. And they were arguing about what they were going to do about it. That's what was happening. That was the context of Muhammad. He didn't just step out all alone by himself. And for heaven's sake, his best friend Abu Bakr named his oldest son, who ended up growing up pagan, but named him after a Jewish, a South Arabian, originally Jewish, but also Christian name for God that he took and applied to his son rather than a traditional Qurayshi name. So no, there were all kinds of other thoughts here and people dealing with the fact that the world was dying. All right.
So yes, Joshua refocusing us. Good job, Joshua. He said, "What's the point of these verses, guys?" I guess he probably was only recently started paying attention. He was distracted. So these aren't even about Muhammad. So why are you bringing these up, Mary?
So again, what happens to unbelievers? They grieve and they sorrow when Allah brings terrible chastisement upon them. Allah will always bring chastisement. A prophet comes. Some people believe him. A lot of people don't. Allah always brings painful torment, a flood, a wind, an earthquake, fire, something to destroy the unbelievers. And when that happens, the only people who grieve or sorrow are the disbelievers. The believers do not. Shuaib, as an example, does not grieve for the unbelievers. Muhammad said, I'd wipe you out right now if the choice were with me. I do not grieve for the disbelievers. I do not grieve for myself. If the people were believed and were God-fearing, then we would have opened up upon them, and that God-fearing word is a totally different word than the other word for fear. We would have opened up for them blessings from heaven and earth, but because they denied them, we seized them for what they earned. So they were, things will come upon them, this painful chastisement, this destruction. Do the people of the cities feel secure? Our might shall not come upon them at night while they are sleeping. Do they feel secure that our might shall not come upon them in daylight while they're playing? Do they feel secure against Allah's deception? None feels secure against Allah's deception except the people who are lost. So again, don't you understand, you generations who come later, don't you take it as a guidance that we will smite you just like we smote them because of their sins. They will be smitten because of their sins. The only people who are smitten or smoted with these terrible things are the unbelievers, and the people who follow Allah are happy. They are content. Nothing bad happens to them. They inherit the fountains and the gardens, as it says about Moses. Okay. Then Allah goes on even, here's one of the similitudes that are often given. There's a city that's secure. It's at rest, so not at war. Things are coming to with it from abroad. All of this wealth is and food is coming to it from every place, but it was unthankful. So Allah let it taste the garment of hunger and fear for the things that they were working. There came to them indeed a messenger who from amongst them, remember the messengers always come from among their own people, but they cried him lies. They said that they called what he said lies. So they were seized by the chastisement while they were evildoers. So again, this comes on the people who disbelieve.
So again, in case it's not clear, right? In case it's not clear to Joshua, This establishes a pattern by which you can judge whether someone is a believer or an unbeliever. No one is suggesting that this verse is directly written as a description of Muhammad. You have to be slightly more abstract in your thinking than that. But I know you're capable of doing this because you don't go to, say, a command given in the Quran to Moses, a moral command, and be like, well, it was given at the time of Moses, so I can't tell whether it applies today or not, right? You understand that when God establishes principles, they apply to all time periods, not just the one time period in which it is revealed. So Allah is establishing a pattern for the way that non-believers respond to judgment.
Yes. So, as a pattern, again, this pattern is continuing.
No, hold on,
Oh
Joshua.
my gosh. You are not understanding anything.
God, so he said God's prerogative actions are different from those believers. There's a difference between God's punishing many people, like at the time of Prophet Lot, with God commanded towards the Amalekites. Right. That has nothing to do with anything. And what the specific punishment is not what we're talking about. We're establishing the pattern of how people respond to the specific punishments that are ordained for them. Please try to understand what's actually being argued.
You're just saying
if
random
Allah
words.
is being truthful, non-believers respond to their assigned punishment in a particular way. Are you saying that Allah? So unless you're saying that Allah is arbitrary, and he doesn't tell you that he means one specific person only, but you know, because you know better than Allah, and his word is so perfectly clear that you have to add lots of words to it.
Yeah.
Unless that's what you're arguing, you're not actually responding to the point being made.
I'm not
in any
saying
way.
Allah is wrong for smiting people. No, I am saying that Muhammad is teaching that anytime a prophet comes to a people, some people believe, some people don't believe, and then Allah sends terrible punishment upon the people who don't believe. Do you understand that this is what your book says?
So apparently Joshua
gosh.
actually doesn't understand that too many Marys on the screen is the same as too many Marys in the chat. And all she said is try to understand what we are saying. And he responded, sorry, I'm not engaging with others right now. What we are saying,
Joshua,
Mary is the person talking.
I am the woman.
He says okay. He says okay.
Yes. So do you understand that I am just I'm not saying that Allah is wrong for this. I'm saying that this is what Muhammad is teaching. He is teaching that every settlement gets a prophet from its own people. Some people believe in him. Some people don't believe in him. Then Allah's terrible punishment comes and strikes the disbelievers, and they are the only ones who fear sorrow, and terrible things happen to them and they die. And then if instead of the painful punishment, the last hour comes instead, because that'll be the end for everybody, then they will be the ones who will be in terrible torment, and the believers will not sorrow. They will not fear. The only people who fear are the ones who disbelieve. Yeah, we're not talking about.
He says he understands, but then he says it's God's prerogative action still. So
yeah,
you're saying
we're not talking about that.
Unbelievers, you're saying that unbelievers not having that believers not having sorrow, or unbelievers having sorrow, is God's prerogative action. So he commands the emotional response of human beings, and I guess it's his prerogative action that you wrote this message in the chat. Is that what you're trying to argue, or do you actually still just not understand at all?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to
Are you
be,
saying
I'm
that?
trying
Are
to
you
be
saying
fair.
that Muhammad is lying when he says that this is the pattern? I'm just asking that Allah could do anything he wanted, and sometimes he'll do other things, even though Muhammad says that this is what Allah does each time. So I'm not saying that Allah is wrong for smiting disbelievers. Not
Right.
saying that.
That's nothing.
There's no
That has nothing to do
criticism
with
of Allah
anything.
here. I am just explaining what Muhammad and Allah are saying, what the pattern is. That when these things happen, what happens to the ones who are believers, who is God-fearing and make amends, then they shall have no fear, they shall have no sorrow. We are not talking about predestination. And no, we don't all believe in predestination. We're not talking about that. Joshua.
Okay. So, first of all, I don't believe in predestination. Second of all, predestination would determine your eternal destiny. It wouldn't necessarily determine your day-to-day actions. And if it does, that's even worse, right? That Allah is determining every single action. He's telling you that unbelievers respond in a particular way to his actions. Then he's causing them to do that action, and then he causes Muhammad to do the same action that he says unbelievers do. Do you understand how insane this argument is from you? You're saying this is not a problem at all because Allah did it. It's okay that Muhammad was afraid in the exact same way that unbelievers are afraid, and Allah says as a judgment as how you know they're unbelievers because Allah caused them to do it. Seriously? And is Allah causing you to put these comments in the chat right now? I mean, is that what you're saying? I'm very confused, Joshua. I'm very confused as to what you're trying to argue because it literally doesn't make any sense. And lots of people in the chat saying that they don't believe in predestination. Again, not all that relevant, honestly, because predestination actually wouldn't even be. You told me, you can say you told me. I just told you I don't understand. If you want to quote me, do it in a Chinese accent, brother. Okay, I see. Yeah, I'm not going to do a fake Chinese accent. Sorry. I don't understand your argument, Joshua. I literally don't understand what you're trying to argue because it's so incoherent.
So, Joshua, let's try again. Who is the one that Allah causes to fear and sorrow? Will believers fear and sorrow when the painful punishment comes, according to Allah? So, see if you can figure this out yet, because we are not criticizing Allah here. We are explaining what Allah is teaching. How many is anyone else confused, or is it just Joshua?
Yeah, so Tawheed Islam, are you confused? Do you understand what we're saying? Like, you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to agree with it, but do you at least understand the point being made? Do you think we're saying Allah is wrong for his judgment? Or do you think that we're saying something about people's reaction to his judgment? And I don't know if this is him saying he's running away or what, but he said, in the beginning, I was asked, I think he means that I asked what Christian denomination is. I answered that question. You just didn't like my answer.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with anything.
I think that he's saying that's why he had to ask about predestination. But if I had given you some denominational answer, that wouldn't have actually told you anything about predestination unless I said like one or two specific ones. I mean, he literally said son of Adam. It means we are all human then, right?
Oh my gosh.
What does this have to do with anything?
It says those who believe, who is God-fearing, do they fear? If you are God-fearing, do you fear? Do the believers fear and sorrow? It's right there in the verse. Read the rest of the verse. If there should come to you messengers from among you relating to you my signs, and whoever is God-fearing and makes amends, no fear shall be on them, neither shall they sorrow. Do the people who believe in the messengers and make amends, are they fearful and do they sorrow? Should they be afraid of a coming catastrophe from Allah? Should they be afraid of his judgment or not? I think it's just
Leo gets it. He says, even though I was arguing before, meaning arguing in the comments, and thus not like fully engaged, fully paying attention, even though he wasn't fully paying attention. I get it. The argument, it's very easy. Only disbelievers fear, as the Quran shows. Muhammad feared, therefore Muhammad was a disbeliever. Yeah, that is the logical conclusion. You got to reject, if the premises are true, right? Disbelievers fear, as stated in the Quran. Muhammad feared, as stated in the Hadith. If those two things are true, then the conclusion is Muhammad was a disbeliever. So the only escape for a Muslim is to deny one of the premises, but then they're in big trouble because they're denying the accuracy of their scripture.
Yep. So let's look at this. Here is a place where you have two different sets laid out really clearly. You have those who turn to Allah, no fear shall be on them, neither shall we sorrow. And then you have those who disbelieve, who say that the messengers are liars. They shall be the inhabitants of the fire. So there's those who don't fear, don't sorrow, and those who go to the fire. Those are your two big categories. So if you are someone who does fear and does sorrow, which category would you necessarily be in?
Those who go to the fire.
Yes. So if you fear, you are not in the category of those who don't fear. You are in the category of those who go to the fire. All right. And he goes on to say about how the greatest evil are those who disbelieves and stuff, and those who forges against Allah a lie or Christ lies to his sign. So if you are lying about Allah or disbelieving in his revelation, then that's in your category. So if you are in hellfire, and you are in the presence of a messenger or at a time of a messenger, then either you're a forger against God or one who doesn't believe in what Allah has revealed.
So Joshua maybe possibly is starting to get it. I'm not sure. I mean, what fear? Fear of death, fear of Allah. The sign of humility is to fear him, not the other way around. I neither fear sorrow in believing in Allah. So you're actually contradicting yourself in this very statement. You say it's a sign of humility to fear, but I don't have any fear of Allah because I'm a believer. So is it good or bad to fear Allah? But forget what your opinion is. What does the Quran say? Does it say believers will fear, or does it say believers will not fear?
And a lot of times there is a word that is translated as God-fearing, but it means like wariness or being ware or guarding oneself. It doesn't actually mean have the same meaning as plain fear. It's a different word. So all the things about God-fearing,
he's got two options, right? Either it can be talking about something different, or the Quran can eternally contradict itself. Contradict itself, because this passage is 100% unambiguous, crystal clear that those who fear go to the hellfire. Those who don't fear, by consequence, don't go to the hellfire and go to paradise.
And what is talking about here, fear and sorrow, is the chastisement or the hour. So whenever Allah sends floods winds, earthquakes, rocks, whatever from heaven to destroy people, or on the last hour, that is when the believers will not fear. It isn't specifically in this context, in the context of a time of judgment. At judgment, when judgment is coming, the believers will not sorrow or fear, and the believers, terrible things will happen to them.
So Tawhid Islam apparently both fails to understand the argument, but also contradicts Joshua, because he says Allah has given us freedom in this world, whereas Joshua said Allah has given us no freedom.
No freedom. Yep.
But we're just going with his supposition here, right? So Allah has given us freedom. So you fear or not can't change your destination. What do you mean? If you're given freedom, that means it can change your destination. You contradicted yourself in 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Allah has given you freedom to determine your own destination. But what you do can't change your destination. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's pretty
And then
funny.
he calls our argument childish. And then he says, what it really means is that disbelievers will tremble on Judgment Day. Oh,
there
thank
you go.
you.
That's
Thank
actually
you.
right.
Yeah, ignore everything else. Ignore all my criticism. You got it. The Quran says that disbelievers will tremble on Judgment Day.
And that is 2 different kinds of judgments. There's the final judgment, and there's also a temporal judgment when Allah sends the earthquake or the wind or the flood. On either one of these judgments, only disbelievers fear. The believers do not fear when the flood comes because it doesn't strike them. They do not fear when the earthquake comes when it doesn't strike them. Only the disbelievers fear. So disbelievers are going to fear at the final judgment and any of these temporal judgments that have wiped out all these cities. They have only wiped out the disbelievers of the cities. And Muhammad running around saying, look at all of these ruins, look at all these ruins, look at these people who were destroyed. And they are the ones who should be fearful.
Joshua, I don't know what to say to you. Yes, those people who living among sent messenger ? What?
Well, in this case, yes.
I don't understand how this is supposed to reply to anything.
I think that he thinks that people aren't afraid because the messenger is with them. But no, what it's saying is that punishment only comes when to a city that has a messenger. So Allah will not destroy a city that he hasn't sent a messenger to. So the fact that there's a New York City that exists and never got a messenger disproves Islam, but that's another thing. Allah will not send this terrible punishment of a divine flood, a divine fire, divine wind, divine earthquake, except that they have had a messenger, and some believe and some disbelieve. And when that happens, those who believe in the messenger, yes, because Allah only sends these terrible punishments on people who have rejected the message of the messenger, according to this verse. So if you want to say that anyone who has a messenger among them shouldn't fear, okay, sure, but also anyone who has repented shouldn't fear the last hour either, whether or not they have a messenger.
Well, I mean, it doesn't actually help them in any way, unless you're saying that there was no messenger at the time of Muhammad.
Muhammad's supposed to be the messenger, right?
I know, of course he is, but he's saying like, no one will fear when there's a prophet on earth, all right, or when there's a prophet among the people.
Well, no one who
that's
believes
what the verse
in the
is
prophet.
saying.
The
Therefore, it's not a problem because there was no messenger, there was no prophet during the time of Muhammad, so it was okay that Muhammad was afraid.
No, I don't think he's following that well. But anyway,
yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to make this coherent because otherwise he's just saying words for no reason.
I don't think he's really following. I don't think he's tracking. Maybe his English isn't that good. So those who follow the messenger and follow Allah don't fear a temporal punishment like flood, earthquake, wind, fire, whatever, because Allah only strikes the disbelievers. And again, notice So all the people have gone astray. There were nations that are unbelievers. And then Allah will say, enter among nations that passed away before you, jinn and mankind, into the fire. Whenever a nation enters, it curses its sister nation, until the last says the first of them, oh, they led us astray, give them double chastisement. Aha, but I'll give you all a double chastisement instead. But this is saying that this judgment and fear and sorrow and everything is coming to the unbelievers because of what will happen. So there are other ones that are specific to paradise. Again, the believers, he says to
I'm going
them,
to try this one more time. I'm going to try this one more time to explain this to Joshua.
oh my goodness.
I could have said to you, don't be afraid of this roller coaster. I'm here with you, but I can't force you to not be afraid, right? That is correct. What you just said is correct. That is not, however, the pattern of this verse. The pattern of the verse is not Allah saying, don't be afraid because I'm with you, and then people being afraid anyway. The pattern of the verse is those who fear are unbelievers.
And it's specifically those who are fearing Allah's judgment. It's not
which
roller
makes
coasters
sense.
or
Which
spiders.
makes perfect sense.
Right. It's not roller coasters or spiders or goats or
and I'm going to say the Quran is actually correct here. I know that is a shocking thing to say, but the Quran is correct that someone who believes Allah's, hypothetically coming judgment, believes in Allah, should not fear that judgment because they should know they are safe. I don't fear. Hey, look, in the Bible, God judges everyone, right? He judges the end times. It's horrible destruction. I don't fear it. And I shouldn't fear it because I'm a believer. That's what the Quran is saying. The Quran is actually correct. This is not, don't be afraid of spiders or roller coasters or whatever, right? This is, don't be afraid of God's judgment if you're not under his judgment.
Right. This is when Allah's judgment is coming to destroy the town, it won't come and destroy you. When the entire world is ending, there's a last hour, you will not have fear or sorrow. So, and again, here's one about, those who are barring the way, they get thrown into hellfire. And then those who had done good, they get told, oh, now it's your time to go into paradise. There will be no fear upon you. You will not sorrow. Then there are other ones.
Oh my gosh, look, Tawhid Islam agrees while saying we're misinterpreting it. It's talking about the judgment day. It says believers will have no fear on judgment day. That's exactly what we said. Will. He even puts it in big letters to emphasize it. Yes, they will have no fear. We agree 100%. I don't know why you're saying we're misinterpreting it, but we agree with you 100%. That is what the verse says. They won't have fear.
It's saying on two different kinds of judgment days. One is a temporal judgment where Allah comes and destroys a town. Also, they will not fear. Also, because Shuaib is over here talking about what's about to happen to his town temporally. There are a number of other places where, for example, Allah was supposedly sent a flood that washed away all the works of Pharaoh, and the followers of Moses inherited the gardens and the fountains. So judgment comes, destroys the unbelievers. This is both judgment of the last day and also a temporal chastisement. On both of these events, these divine events, those who believe will not fear and should not have sorrow. They won't.
And Muslim allegation hunter thinks the exact same thing, right? He says facepalm like we're saying something wrong. Last hour will only come on disbelievers. We agree. And according to Islamic theology, disbelievers have to fear. Believers have nothing to fear. You guys just keep affirming what we're saying and being like, you guys are so stupid. How could you not understand this?
All right. So then there is when Adam and Eve and Satan apparently all get thrown out, get down out of it all together, out of paradise. There shall come to you guidance from me, and whoever follows my guidance, no fear shall be on them, and neither shall they sorrow. In contrast to the unbelievers who will become the inhabitants of the fire. So when temporal judgment comes and destroys the unbelievers and sending them to fire early, then they have fear and sorrow, but the disbelievers don't. The believers do fine. They don't get struck by this. So again, here's another one. And then whenever Muhammad goes to Medina, he continues on this same theology for a short while. There are very few Medinan verses that have this theology before he pretty much drops it. But when he insists on it, this is when he's saying that Jews and Christians also go to paradise. Everyone who believes in Allah and the last day, no fear will be on them, neither shall they sorrow. They won't suffer from judgment. It won't come to them and destroy them. Mm-hmm. Again, and then again, he says it, anyone who does it, you don't have to be a Jew, you don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be a Sabian. All you have to do is believe in one God, and you won't have any fear, you won't have sorrow. So again, this one particularly is about individual judgment at any time that you die, or in the last hour, or whenever, right? It's final destination kind of stuff.
Right. Yep. So once again, I think that maybe Joshua, since the other Muslims got it, is accepting it. All three Muslims in the chat are agreeing that the Quran says that true believers don't fear Allah's judgment.
Okay. All right. So, and I didn't highlight this one. Here are more examples of people who do not fear and shall not sorrow. Those who spend their wealth on jihad. Those who spend their wealth night and day. Those who do the deeds of righteousness, perform the prayer, pay alms. They will not fear or sorrow. So 2 of these are for jihadi funders and 1 for other good deeds, that they will not, no fear will be on them, they will not sorrow. Mm-hmm. Those who forge falsehoods against Allah, it will be
let me pause you for 1 second here. So Tawheed Islam says she's adding her own words. Stop doing that to the Holy Quran. She has the words of the Quran on screen. She's allowed to add commentary and talk about what it means.
What it means.
She's not saying these are the words of the Quran when she's describing the meaning of the words of the Quran.
What does I just want to ask,
what do you think a tafsir is?
Yeah.
Is that adding words to the Quran?
What does spend their wealth in the way of Allah mean? It means spend money on jihad. That's what it means in every case in the Quran.
Oh, he's not saying that you're wrong. No. He's just saying you shouldn't be adding any words.
You should only read know what it means.
The Quran. Never talk. Right. Never speak a word that's not in the Quran. I assume this is a direct quote of the Quran, because if you say anything that's not a direct quote of the Quran, you are adding words to the Quran.
All right. But anyway, if you forge falsehoods against Allah, then of course you're in the bad, the bad bucket. But if you are Allah's friend, no fear will be on you. You will not sorrow. All of these wonderful things that you do, you will get all these good things. For them is good tidings in the present life and in the world to come. There's no changing the words of Allah. You can't change the words that there's glad tidings here and in the world to come. Everything's great.
So Ma maybe has figured out that there's a reason why we are agreeing with them, and he's now totally changed it, even though he told us we are stupid for not understanding that this means that believers will not fear. He now says no, it doesn't mean they won't fear. When it says no fear on them, that means that there'll be no harm will touch them.
No, that's not what it means. It says fear. There will be no fear that
Well,
comes
Allah is
upon them.
perfectly clear. That's why you have to have people who are adding words to the Quran, changing words of the Quran to tell you what the Quran actually means.
And by the way, on them is only Arbery's translation. To have fear fall upon you in Arabic just means that you experience fear. So again, more jihadis avoiding. Whoops. Let's go. There we go. I went the wrong way. All right. So here comes Jesus. He puts people on a straight path, but people began disagreeing, and woe unto those who did evil because of the chastisement of a painful day. So the chastisement comes to the ones who do evil and fall into variance. They are looking for anything but the hour that it should come upon them suddenly when they're not aware. So, the end of the world will come upon them, and they will, friends on that day shall be foes to one another. But the God-fearing, no fear is on you, and neither do you sorrow. So you will enter paradise, you and your wives, walking with joy, because apparently he thinks that Jesus's followers were polygamists because he's very ignorant. So here is all the hard cope from the Muslims. This is about, again, whenever the divine judgment comes, because most of the context of these, especially the early ones, are about the cities, all the cities that we come. And Shuaib is talking about how they get seized for what they've earned, and the people who are God-fearing do not experience sorrow. They don't experience fear when they are seized upon by Allah, when his strike comes upon them. So, what did Muhammad? How did he react when he thought that this temporal punishment, which is supposed to come and wipe out disbelievers and leave the believers unscathed? So those who believe are supposed to not fear, not sorrow, nothing will happen to them. Unbelievers destroyed. What did Muhammad do? Aisha said, this is in Medina, when he realizes that he's a false prophet and really understands it. If Muhammad saw a cloud that looked as if it was bringing rain, the color of his face would change, and he would go in and out and walk to and fro. He's pacing. His face has drained of color, and he's just frantic, walking in agitation. Then if it rained, he would feel relieved. Oh, it's just rained. And Aisha said to him, look, I watch your face just change color, and you walk back and forth and you're scared. Why? And he says, how do you know basically what the result of this would be? Perhaps it would be as the people of Hud said, then when they saw a dense cloud coming toward their valleys, they said, this is a cloud bringing us rain. Nay, but is that torment which you are asking to be hastened? So what is Muhammad afraid that it is? It is a torment, a chastisement from Allah, and it is causing him to do what? Which bucket is he in? Is he in the bucket
he's
of those?
freaking out. Right?
Yeah.
He's so nervous that his face is visibly changing color.
Yeah. And he can't sit still. He paces back and forth. He is freaking out.
No. It looks like it's going to rain, but it might not be rain. It might be Allah's torment coming for me. And
who should fear the seizing of Allah, the torment of Allah, his chastisement, his punishment, his temporal judgment when there are messengers, when he comes to the cities and obliterates everyone who isn't a true believer? Should believers fear at that moment?
Oh,
they should not.
Not only should, right? They can't.
They do not. They can't. They do not. They do not fear. The ones when the judgment comes upon them, when the chastisement comes upon them, they do not fear. They do not sorrow. Muhammad is in terror that this is happening. What is the worst thing that you can do with Allah? You can forge against Allah a lie. And this tells
Uh-huh.
us what he believes himself to be guilty of. He forges lies against Allah. So if there is a torment coming, it is what will happen to him. He will be struck.
Yep. I think that Marianne's got this right. Muhammad was a false
Mhm.
prophet, and he knew it, right? He's like, oh no, my little game is over. Allah's coming for me. Oh, whew, it's just rain cloud. I live to pillage
Yeah.
another day.
And wait, this one, oh, this is not the one that I wanted to grab. Unfortunately, I will find another one. But
Wait, okay. This is just unbelievable. So I said they have to deny one of the premises, and to Joshua's credit, he's denying one of the premises. But he says this doesn't say that the prophet was fearing. It literally says afraid in the text. It's not saying he's afraid.
So this one says that he is afraid, just to be clear. If your face strains of color and you pace back and forth
You're projecting
and would
yourself.
only relax.
Wait, when your face changes color and you pace back and forth, it's because you're afraid. But Muhammad, his face changed color because he was being possessed by a demon, and that the demon was making him walk back and forth. So he wasn't afraid
Something
at all.
like that.
He was just filled with a demon.
Yeah. So, yep.
The cope here is off the charts, man.
It is. It is so sad. All right.
Oh, and by the way, Ma admitted that he is not a believer. He says, yes, I'm afraid of God because I know Islam is true. Well, yeah, I mean, good. You should be afraid of God if you think Islam is true and Christianity is false. That would be a very good reason to fear God. But according to the Quran, if you know Islam is the truth, you can't fear God. So,
yeah,
I think he's admitting that he doesn't really believe in Allah. He doesn't believe in the words of the Quran, at least. He believes he's smarter than the Quran, which he's probably correct about.
Yeah. Oh, wait 1 second. Let me pull this up. So, anytime that there was a cloud, he was afraid. He was afraid until it actually rained. There are other phrases. I mean, there are so many ahadith on this one that all express the same thing. His terror when it rained is just like so well known that it is a basic attribute of Muhammad's character.
So I have a question for Anna here, which I assume just joined. It's amazing how it says charlatans. Sorry. I thought it said Christians. I misread it. My bad. This is true. No question for you, Anna. It's amazing how charlatans and narcissists have no future thinking. They never think of how it will end for them. It's all about the immediate satisfaction. True. I misread it. My bad.
So, whoops. Here, let's share this one because this is actually one of the parts that I wanted where Aisha actually talked to him like, people like rain. Why don't you like rain? Fine.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the desert. I mean, rain's pretty good, right?
All right, let's turn that one off and let me share a different one too. Here we go. So, would you have hatred of Allah's judgment if you are a believer? Shouldn't have hatred of it. But Aisha would say that I never saw him laughing loudly enough to enable me to see his uvula, but he used to smile only, and whenever he saw clouds or men, signs of deep concern would show on his face. So he would get super worried.
Mm-hmm. So Joshua, he actually raised a good point. sort of.
Mhm.
He just doesn't understand that's a good point. He says, hey, can we counter with the same concept of believers, not any fearing on Bible contradiction here? Yeah, if you can show me where the Bible said, and I already said the Quran was right, that a true believer should have no fear on the day of judgment. But if you can show me anywhere in the Bible where, one, it says that, because you're going to have to actually show me that in the Bible, to be fair. And two, where, say, Jesus, for example, was fearing the day of judgment, then I would agree that would show that Jesus is a false prophet. So if you can show me that from the Bible, I will say right here and right now that Jesus is a false prophet. So go ahead and show me where Jesus is fearing the day of judgment.
So what Aisha says to him, when people see clouds, they usually feel happy. So clouds cause happiness in people. Hoping that it would rain, while I see that when you see clouds, one could notice signs of dissatisfaction or hatred. He has a hatred of the clouds. What does he hate? In the Arabic, it's also hatred, by the way. Oh, Aisha, what's a guarantee for me that there won't be punishment in it? Since some people were punished by a wind. Some people received the punishment, but when seeing the cloud, they said, this cloud will only give rain. So what does this require that he believe about the punishment? That it would come to whom?
It seems to be the true prophets. Oh, wait, no. That would be the unbelievers. And so Ma has gone backwards, and he said, are you serious? Quran 35:28 says those who fear Allah are those of knowledge. You know nothing about Quran. Well, one, we already told you. If you may not, I'm not sure if it was before or after you joined, so maybe it was before you joined, but we already said it's a different word in Arabic. It's not the same word. But two, if you want to say the Quran contradicts itself, I'm fine with that.
That would still...
I'm granting that it's talking about two different things. One is talking about a reaction to God's judgment. The other is talking about, some sort of general principle of having reverence towards God or whatever. I'm willing to grant that the Quran is not in contradiction, but if you want to argue the Quran's in contradiction, you're free to do so. But the argument here isn't generalized fear. The argument here is that those who are true believers don't fear Allah's judgment.
Yeah, that's a third word for fear, by the way.
Feared Allah's judgment. Ergo, Muhammad is not a true believer.
Yep.
You got to deny one of those two premises.
It has to be in the context of this. He is expressing hatred of what? Of a cloud that he thinks will bring judgment. He is expressing hatred, according to Aisha, of Allah's judgment. He has hatred that it might come. Like this is what it's saying.
Mm-hmm.
That he is expressing this, and he's saying that this is justified because it could be punishment coming. So who is the punishment coming for?
Once again, Joshua, if the Quran said that true believers shouldn't fear the day of judgment, then you could say they're in sin or maybe not even sin, just like mistaken or something when they fear it. That's not the logical proposition set out by the Quran. As one of your fellow Muslims emphasized, it doesn't say shouldn't. It says won't, will not. Believers will not fear the day of judgment, not should not.
Will not.
I told you to not fear this roller coaster is saying you shouldn't fear this roller coaster.
And I want to keep in mind
you won't fear this
here.
roller coaster.
Let's show that it actually very clearly. Hang on, the no fear applies to the coming of a temporal judgment to a certain city, to a certain nation. To every nation a term, and when their term comes, they shall not put it back by a single hour, nor put it forward. So you get your messenger, and then your city will get, those among you who do not believe in the messenger will get destroyed. And when that happens, no fear will be on them, and neither shall they sorrow. This is about two different kinds, because when it's the final time for this to happen, it will also be the hour for everybody. But it also happens to the previous nations before you. No fear will come on them within that nation. So the nation, how should I grieve for a people of unbelievers? So this is Shuaib talking to his own people. We also have the example here. Let me find where we have fountains and gardens.
So Ma, you're obsessed with the word on in one particular translation of one particular verse. There's like 10 different passages on this. You are obsessing over one word, thinking you have a response. You have no response.
No.
Allah is crystal clear on this particular point. You
Yep.
can't just reinterpret his words to be like, well, when he says believers won't fear, it means they won't be harmed.
No, it doesn't mean that. It means that they will not fear. It means that they will have no fear. They will have no sorrow in the same way. It's fear and sorrow that they will not feel it. But Muhammad has hatred for clouds that might bring torment. Why? Why does he have hatred? Let's do Islam Awakened, because it's pretty good here.
And then we got Tawheed saying, Muslim hunter brother, do you see how they're deceiving people? Where in the Holy Quran says Prophet Muhammad will be afraid on Judgment Day?
No,
we didn't say the Quran says that, and you say that we're deceiving when you explicitly says it says will. When and the guy who you're appealing to says it doesn't say will.
Yep.
He's deceiving. You're deceiving. You're deceiving our argument. Where did we ever say that the Quran says that Prophet Muhammad will be afraid on Judgment Day? I explicitly said multiple times, and Mary showed the sources now, but I said it multiple times ahead of time, that the Hadith say that Muhammad was afraid of Judgment Day, not the Quran.
Yep. Muhammad
Stop
is afraid.
lying and deceiving while claiming other people are lying and deceiving.
And Allah is afraid. Here is an example. Another example of the striking coming only to the disbelievers and the believers being fine. So,
okay, Muslim allegation hunter. Once again, it's an Arabic idiom that means be afraid.
Yep, it's
the
an
fact
idiom.
That and it's not the same phrase in every single passage. There's 10 passages. You can't just say, well, one of them says the word on, so I could reinterpret it to mean harm. It's not an Arabic idiom, meaning that when you say they have fear on them, doesn't mean that they will be harmed.
No, it doesn't.
That would
be
an idiom, right? If you could show me that was an idiom, then I'd say you're right. But even if every single one said fear on, you would still need to provide evidence that fear on means something other than fear.
Yep. All right. So.
And they don't all say fear on.
All right. So, and I leave the sea becalmed, they are a drowned host. So this is, sorry. Well, let's jump back out so you can get the context here. For already before them, we tried the people of Pharaoh, and a noble messenger came to them saying, deliver to me God's servants, for I'm a faithful messenger, blah, blah, blah. But if you do not believe me, go apart from me. And he called to his Lord saying, these are sinful people, set thou forth with thy servants, etc., etc. Then it says, they left how many gardens and fountains in fields, and how noble a station and what prosperity they rejoiced in.
I'm sorry, Mary. I'm sorry. This guy says we need to learn. And it says he's afraid of the hour. It says the Hadith say Muhammad is afraid of the hour, not Judgment Day. This freaking idiot says we need to learn. It thinks that the hour and Judgment Day are different things, but he admits that Muhammad's afraid of the hour.
Yep. And I want to again. Let's look at so that's a time when again the people of Moses gained prosperity from the destruction of the people of Pharaoh. So Allah came, destroyed Pharaoh, and the people of Moses inherited it all. If God's chastisement comes upon you, or the hour comes upon you, so this is talking about two different possible endings. The ending of a nation can be with a temporal judgment, such as a flood or fire or an earthquake or wind, and it can be destroyed by law that way. And it's and who's destroyed? Only the disbelievers. Or the hour. Who will you call upon? You won't call upon anyone else. And here it talks about again, whoever believes and makes amends, no fear will be on them, neither shall they sorrow. But those who
this
cry,
one says the
lies,
word hour,
then
but
the chastisement shall visit. The chastisement being different from the hour here. Chastisement or the hour. Here it's saying that temporal punishment, like I don't deny that it could be the hour as well. You can either have at the end of all time, the last nation to be destroyed, there'll be chastisement in the hour.
You said it was Allah's judgment, right? That's what you actually said. You actually didn't say it was Judgment Day. You said it was his immediate judgment on some cities, his judgment at the end of times. And but a Muslim allegation hunter already admitted that Muhammad was afraid of the hour. Now we go to this passage of the Quran, and it explicitly says the hour.
Yeah. Chastisement or the hour, who is going to be afraid? Who will be visited by the chastisement? Only the people. At the end of this passage, there is a contrast here. They're the people who will not fear and will not sorrow, and then there'll be the people who have the chastisement visit them. It's a very clear pattern over and over and over again. So if Muhammad is fearful of chastisement, that chastisement is coming to the disbelievers. That's why it keeps talking about, why don't you talk about all of the people who have been destroyed before you? Go walk around. How many a city we have destroyed? Our might came upon it at night and it destroyed them. But who does it destroy? Only the unbelievers. The unbelievers are seized for what they earn. Who isn't hurt? Who does not fear? Who does not sorrow then? That is the people who follow Allah. Only the people who are disbelievers should be fearful of the flood or the fire or the wind or the earthquake or the last hour. And give me 1 second. I'm really curious for those who are like, the last hour is not Judgment Day. Yeah. Yes, it is. Whether or not it's a literal 24 hours is the hour of.
So, like, I mean, what is he trying to say? That the hour is the start of the judgment period, but the Judgment Day is the last minute of that period. I mean, he's trying to draw a distinction without any real meaning, unless he can explain to us how there's a real difference, right? If you want to say it's two moments in time that are not literally the same moments, but are part of the same event, then you haven't made any real difference. The hour means the last hour on earth, not Judgment Day. So I think what he's trying to say is, on the last hour, everyone's swept up, or whatever wording he would use, to the place of judgment, but they're not judged that literal exact second. So they're two different things.
It's still saying that the hour won't be grieved by the believers.
And it literally says the hour after he already admitted Muhammad is fearful of the hour. So even if he had some point, which he doesn't, because it's two descriptions of the same event, you can play some semantic game and say it's not the same part of the same event, which is just a game. But it literally said believers won't be afraid of the hour. He literally said Muhammad's afraid of the hour. He has lost.
Yep. So again, over and over again, it gets this contrast, right? of those who are afraid and those who are not afraid. And specifically, it's not spiders, it's not the dark, it's not even jinn. It's specifically, are you afraid of Allah's coming sweeping judgment? Whether or not it's a judgment of a nation about to sweep it out of existence, or after all the nations have been judged, the last hour, that is when you are supposed to, here we go. Goodness. That's your contrast. You're either in the fear bucket or you're in the non-fear bucket. Okay, here's another example where it explains that that whenever Pharaoh was destroyed, the people who followed Moses inherited everything. So we bequeathed upon the people that were based all the east and the west of a land we had blessed. Because they endured patiently, we destroyed utterly the works of Pharaoh and his people, what they had been building. So it destroyed Pharaoh and they inherited it.
Mhm.
They inherited the land. So they were saved from this and inherited the land there. But we let loose on them the flood. This is a flood that wipes out everything in Egypt and all the people and the buildings, but it let them inherit the gardens and fountains of Pharaoh.
So another Muslim jumped in, or maybe it's Mon or another account, I don't know for sure, but says the hour equals the end of the world, the day of judgment equals the afterlife trial that follows. Afraid of the hour because it'll be brutal like floods and meteorites, etc. So
but not for the people.
Hold on, Mary. Let me address this in two things. So it is part of the same event. It's a distinction without meaning, in my opinion. Okay, you want to disagree with that? Fine. I have no problem. I will grant that I'm wrong, that they're the same event, even though, as you say, the one directly follows from the other. Whatever, terminology issue. My bad. Okay, my bad. I apologize for the terminology issue. But now here's the real point. Okay, one, the Quran explicitly says that the believer won't be afraid of the hour, so that's not helping you any. And two, the principle of the Quran is that the believer won't be afraid of Allah's judgment in any way. I don't think it actually uses the day of judgment at all. So you saying that you saying, oh, we've destroyed your argument to blah blah blah, when you haven't actually addressed the argument in substance at all you've done is say, well, see, technically you used the wrong word, so it doesn't count. Muhammad was afraid of Allah's judgment.
Specifically, he was afraid of something coming in the clouds to destroy the unbelievers, as it had for previous prophets. Here is the longer section talking about Moses. So they left how many gardens and fountains, sown fields, how noble a station, what prosperity they had rejoiced in. Even so, they bequeathed them upon another people. So they had, and the children of Israel were delivered from humbling chastisement and did not suffer that kind of thing.
Tawhid once again agrees with us while telling us that he has refuted us. I checked Sahih Bukhari 48:28. It's not talking about the judgment day, talking about punishment on earth. I know. We said that.
It is taught there are two different times that people will not fear. The reason why I had the Schwabe example and I gave you the Moses example is because what happens? A nation is wiped out by something like a flood or a wind, and that only strikes the unbelievers. the believers are spared from these terrible things happening. That's why when the flood comes and wipes out all of the followers of Pharaoh and destroys all of his works, all of his things that he had made, that's what the works there means, like stuff he's built. It destroys all of Pharaoh's buildings and destroyed their fountains and gardens, which enriched the children of Israel. They became the inheritors. They were given prosperity in this world. Allah comes and just sends a messenger. The messenger delivers a message. Some people believe, some people disbelieve. Then Allah sends temporal judgment in the form of a supernatural event upon the people and destroys all those who disbelieve. And in the nations where no one believed, and like if they killed the messenger and nobody believed, they're all destroyed. Everybody's killed. But if the believers are there, they become the uppermost. They prevail. They inherit. They are spared. They do not fear and they do not sorrow. So if Muhammad is seeing this chastisement that he keeps telling people that are, by the way, he keeps telling people, this chastisement's coming. Allah is going to send it to you. It's going to strike you down, Meccans. Totally. This is going to happen right here. Say, if what you seek to hasten were with me, the matter between you and me would be decided, and God knows very well the evildoers. That is Muhammad's response to the Meccans, saying, look, you keep saying that Allah is going to strike us down with an earthquake or a wind or a flood or fire or something. So why hasn't it happened? Bring it on. And Muhammad said, if I had the ability, I would have, but the choice is with Allah as to when he will do it. But he will. Allah will bring punishment to destroy the unbelievers, and we will not sorrow and we will not fear on those days. So this is absolute proof that those who are rightly guided do not fear or sorrow when either the hour or a painful torment come. They don't fear, they don't sorrow. And this painful torment is a supernatural event, like something coming in the clouds. They do not fear, they do not sorrow. They are exempt from that. They do not feel sympathy for anyone else. They don't, not shouldn't, but don't. Muhammad, however, was terrified by the possibility that a painful torment has come in the clouds. Therefore, either Muhammad believed himself not to be rightly guided, or else Allah and Muhammad's word on fear and sorrow can't be trusted, and Muhammad was not rightly guided. That's it. That's done.
Yep.
So
Big O Muslim, he says, I just came, Einstein. I don't know why he's talking to my cat. I just answered your last comment. Fine. You didn't hear before, which means you don't understand why this is so stupid, but or not why it's so stupid. I apologize. That was not an appropriate description. Why this is irrelevant, so obviously contradictory to your Quran. In Islam, all prophets, Moses, Jesus, Abraham, Muhammad, etc., are all humans and have fear. And then he says even Jesus was afraid and asked to pass the cup. I don't know why he's appealing to the Bible.
Nope, this isn't about the
because that's not in the Quran.
Nope.
And also, there's nothing about Jesus being afraid, just so you know, in the Bible. But I don't know why he's trying to appeal to the Bible. I'm just going to ignore that part. He says that all the prophets are afraid. So what he's saying is that the Quran is false when it says that believers will not be afraid.
And again, this is not saying that Muhammad couldn't be afraid of jinn. Muhammad couldn't be afraid of somebody whacking him in the neck with a sword. This is specifically talking about the context of Allah bringing a divine judgment down onto the people.
And then
in that specific context, he should not be fearful and he should not be sorrowful. But his face
I know all these people, like their excuses. It doesn't say that he's afraid of the last day judgment. It says he's afraid of the hour, or it says he's afraid of Allah's immediate judgment, or I don't know. they don't get it, right? It's not a singular prong. They think that, oh, we refuted the last judgment exact wording, therefore we defeated the argument. Mary spent considerable time. The day of judgment wasn't actually the main point. It was just an example of the judgment you're not supposed to be afraid of, or you can't be afraid of if you're a true believer.
There are
The
two
actual
types.
hadith is not about the last day.
No.
We never claimed it was about the last day. We never claimed it was about the hour, although Ma admitted that Muhammad is afraid of the hour, interestingly enough. We claimed it was about Allah's immediate judgment upon the city.
Mm-hmm.
And none of you have even remotely tried to refute that.
Yep.
You just say we're lying because it doesn't say Judgment Day. No one claimed that Sahih Bukhari says Judgment Day.
And
No
again,
one
the Schwabe,
claimed
and all of you
that.
guys were getting goofy when I was bringing up Schwabe, because Schwabe is an example of someone who is saying that, you know, Allah's chastisement is going to fall on you guys, not on us. We're fine. You will be seized. We will be fine. Or the example of Moses, all of Pharaoh's followers are supposed to have been swept away according to what the Quran said. They were swept away, and the followers of Moses inherited the fountains and gardens and then left them behind after inheriting them when they went to a new land. And this is the pattern. The pattern is that Allah will destroy a nation, the disbelievers among the nation. Allah does not destroy the believers among a nation with the wind or the earthquake. He destroys the disbelievers. If they've killed the prophet, then, and he, you know, prophet could be afraid, even though he shouldn't be afraid. There's nothing that says he can't be afraid of being slaughtered by his own people, because that happens in these contexts, that sometimes some prophets are killed by the people that they come to. So he might be afraid of that. What he cannot be afraid of is that when he has his following and Allah's torment comes to wipe out everyone who's disbelieving, he can't be afraid of that. He cannot be afraid of that and be a prophet. Yet that is something that he is immeasurably terrified of later in Medina. All right, so I think
so.
That we
Joshua
should
did get the memo. He hasn't figured out what he's supposed to argue. I feel sorry for him. I think he might not actually have
temporal,
the brain
not temporary, honey,
to understand anything. Because the other Muslims are saying it doesn't say Day of Judgment, but he's saying, well, it doesn't say that he's afraid of a temporary torment.
Not temporary, temporal. That means in the world.
That word's too big. You got to use a smaller word for Mary.
So basically, when a judgment comes to a nation, he is explicitly saying that this is what he's afraid of.
Temporal means at a point in time. So not the final judgment, in other words. So what Mary's using the word temporal to mean a judgment other than the final judgment.
Yes. So Allah will bring two types of judgments. One will be horrible things happening in the hour, and then the judgment after that. And then the other is each nation. Each nation arises. It gets its own prophet. The disbelievers are destroyed. That destruction of disbelievers excludes any believers. They shall not sorrow. They shall not fear. Yet, what happens? They are afraid.
Yep.
He is afraid. So, all right.
So, Leo gets it, right? Only disbelievers fear judgment coming. Judgment in general, not one specific judgment only. Muhammad feared judgment coming. Therefore, Muhammad was a disbeliever.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, there's two possibilities, right? One is that therefore Muhammad is a disbeliever, or the other possibility is one of the premises is false, in which case Islam is false.
Yep.
So either Muhammad is not a believer or Islam is false. One or the other.
Either Muhammad forged things against Allah by saying false things about fearing the coming of a judgment to a nation, or Muhammad forged things against Allah, and that's why he knows that severe torment would come to him if it comes to anybody. In either case, there's nothing to be trusted that can come from Allah.
Mhm.
All right.
So Big O Muslim, he says, what's your pseudo argument? It's on the screen in the comment. Premise 1, only disbelievers fear judgment coming. Premise 2, Muhammad feared judgment coming. Conclusion, Muhammad was a disbeliever. Which of the premises? The conclusion follows from the premises. You
Yep.
cannot avoid that conclusion unless you deny one of the premises. Which of the premises do you deny? You think that we're criticizing Muhammad because he was afraid of a thunderstorm?
Nope.
That is not correct.
Nope.
That is not why we're saying he's a false prophet. We're saying he's
that
a false prophet because of the logical argument. This is not a pseudo argument. This is a logically sound argument. This is as basic of a logic as you can possibly get. So you have to deny one of the premises. Which premises do you deny?
And here we go, Joshua. We had already covered the fact that, in fact, Muhammad would never fear for other people. I have 2 texts that say that Muhammad did not fear for other people and he didn't worry about them. Muhammad said that if what you seek to hasten, that is the final judgment falling upon a people, were with me, the matter between you and me would be decided. So I would bring this judgment down in a heartbeat, is what Muhammad was saying back in Mecca, that if I had the choice, I would strike you all down now. He was not afraid for other people. And Shuaib also expresses how he would not fear for any disbelievers. That's not something that prophets do. Prophets don't fear for disbelievers. It's only people only fear on their own behalves. How should I grieve for a people of unbelievers? So when it says that there'll be no sorrow, he does not sorrow for unbelievers. Prophets don't sorrow for unbelievers. Muhammad would strike everyone down. So that is not a way out. It cannot be sympathetic fear. Aside from the fact that it explicitly says that they shall not fear, they shall not sorrow. So anyway, I want to wrap up.
We're about to wrap up. Let me take a couple other comments real quick. So I gave a challenge to Big O Muslim in the chat, or well, I just asked him a question. I didn't really give him a challenge. We'll see if he answers it honestly. But before that, I wanted to bring up this comment. Talking to Tawhid Islam. Yes, it doesn't say that. Did they say the Prophet Muhammad is going to be afraid of Judgment Day? No, we didn't. Tawhid Islam made that up. It was a complete and total lie. Well, my imam grew over 9,000. Yes, lies increase your imam. We know. We know that Islam is based on lies. The more lies you hear, the more faith you have in Islam. We know. We know. And then as he says, the Quran says these kinds of people will make up things up. Well, Tawhid Islam made stuff up. We didn't make anything up.
No.
So whatever judgment you think the Quran is passing, it's passing it out on Tawhid Islam, who just made up lies about us, and you just blindly believed them.
So what I said, whenever he said, this is about judgment, I said that it is both. It can be about either the judgment day, or it can be about temporal judgment falling upon a nation. And I showed examples of that.
Oh my
God.
So
lying isn't going to help you. It just makes you look really dumb and really desperate.
You doing hasty generalization? No.
Nope. And Muhammad himself said, I would strike you down now and kill you all if I had the power. So he is not worried about what would happen to unbelievers, aside from which he isn't even in Mecca anymore. These aren't people he cares about. He slaughtered most of the inhabitants of Medina who didn't immediately accept him. He's not shedding a tear over the Medinans. He said to the Meccans that I would bring the judgment now and kill you all if I had the power, if Allah had given me the choice. So no. And again, you would have to say that Allah is lying when he said, you will not fear or sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. So little Christian Prince is scared of clouds, scared of wives, scared of his people, scared of jinn, ... Yeah, Muhammad was scared of a lot of things. Now, being scared of his wives and scared of his people and scared of the jinn, those things are embarrassing, but they don't technically make him a false prophet. However, being scared of the clouds does, because he said that he thinks it's Allah's judgment, and he supposedly received revelation from Allah that says that believers cannot fear Allah's judgment.
So, Joshua, you're not grasping.
Oh my God.
Muhammad said that if I could kill you all, I would slaughter you now. I would kill you all. Yeah, that's the point.
Why do Muslims struggle with this kind of logical statement? If
Because when you
X,
have
then Y.
theory-
But it says if, so it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So Muhammad, given the choice, would kill them all that instant. He didn't have that choice. In fact, everything he said about Allah was a lie. There was never any divine punishment that ever came to Mecca. He just lied about it. There was never any divine punishment that ever came to Medina. He lied about it. There wasn't a divine punishment that came to most of the places that he thought a divine punishment came to. He made them up. So he's just wrong.
Yep.
You can't say that someone who wants to murder everyone is sorrowful and scared for them if Allah decides to kill them, when he wants to murder them all right now with his own hands if he could.
If these people had a brain, they wouldn't be in Islam. I said if. We know they don't have a brain. So I guess I didn't say anything meaningful whatsoever. I didn't insult them. I didn't call Islam a false religion. Nothing. So Big O Muslim did not answer my question. Unfortunately, that means that the stream is going to end. He claimed that he asked, where in the hadith does it say this? I said, we've put it on screen 10 times. If I put it on an 11th time, will you watch? Will you actually pay attention? He didn't answer that question, and instead makes up goes off on some stupid tangent that means absolutely nothing towards this argument whatsoever. So sadly, we don't need to bring up the hadith unless Mary really wants to. I see she did bring it up after I pulled it off screen.
Yeah, I mean, you want to bring it up again?
I don't think he's going to pay attention.
No.
I think he's just going to claim once again that, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're claiming that Muhammad is afraid of the day of judgment. It doesn't say that.
Yeah. When he saw a cloud, he would walk to and fro in agitation. He couldn't even sit still. He would go out and come in. The color of his face would change. It would rain in fear. And if it rained, oh, it's only rain. It's not Allah coming to smite me and destroy me. He had to fear for himself because Muhammad had already established that he would not be afraid for anyone else, that he would destroy anyone who opposed him given the chance. So Aisha is like, what's up? And he said, I don't know. I'm afraid, but it may be similar. What happened to some people referred to in the Quran in the following verse. Then they saw a dense cloud coming toward their valleys, and they said, this is a cloud bringing rain. Nay, but is that which the torment which you are asking to be hastened. And that's a wind wherein there's severe torment. So he thought that torment was coming to him and was going to strike him. This torment only strikes unbelievers. The torment only causes unbelievers to fear and sorrow and punishes them and hurts them. So he's afraid that he is going to face the judgment of an unbeliever. It's very simple. All right.
And unless YouTube blocked it, which I find highly unlikely, because it would have been like, yes, I will listen or something like that, or no, I won't. I think that Big O Muslim is simply lying. He says, I answered your question. You missed it when you were stroking your cat. Unfortunately for you, I can go back and I can read all the chat and I can filter it by a user's name. I asked, will you actually listen on the 11th? You made one comment in between the one I highlighted and me saying that you didn't answer my question. And it was this: Prophet Muhammad was extremely loving and even feared for people like you who are doomed for hell. Yes,
no, he didn't.
Nice.
No, he didn't.
But that's not an answer to my question. My question was, will you listen on the 11th time that we read the hadith?
Yep. If what you seek to hasten were with me, the matter between you and me would be decided. I would kill you all. Muhammad says he would kill them all. that he would have no mercy on them, that he would slaughter them all. He was not fearful for anyone else. He wanted them to die. He would have killed them way sooner if he had had the chance.
So here's the whole conversation. Where it says Prophet Muhammad feared judgment coming, we've brought it up 10 times already. Will you actually listen on the 11th? Prophet Muhammad was extremely loving. Then I called him out verbally, so I can't pull something up on screen saying he didn't answer my question. I answered your question.
Ha! Again, Muslims just lie reflexively. It's amazing. They're so like their prophet. They can't help it. They're like, I'm speaking, I need to lie. Just lying. That's why, I mean, the ancient Greeks said that the pagan god Hermes went around and gave each nation its portion of deceit and lies. And when he got to Arabia, his entire cart tipped over and all the rest of all the deceit in it meant for all the other nations rolled out and went to the Arabs. You guys are just liars. It's crazy. Just shameless, disgusting liars. And so is Muhammad. For you guys, this is truthful. So Tawheed here is perfectly fine with this guy, thinks he's an upstanding man, and yet he just lies. You also just lie.
Yep. They've all lied about, I mean, like, not even a material question. They've all lied about their own actions and my actions in this stream. Objective facts, right? Not that they've lied and called me a loser or stupid or something along those lines. That's an opinion. They've lied about objective facts, like saying I answered your question when they didn't. And by the way, I repeated the question right before I said he didn't answer it. So he couldn't have been mistaken and thought I was talking about some other question either.
Nope. And by the way, what's even
just flat out lying.
What's even funnier is now Tawheed 1 is saying that, oh, well, he was afraid he can't be afraid actually for himself because that would make an unbeliever. He can't be afraid for disbelievers because he wants to kill all the disbelievers. So he's afraid for his nation. Oh, so he misled all of his nation, and his nation are really all disbelievers. They're secret disbelievers. He was fearful for his nation. Awesome.
Yeah,
so on that note, with Muhammad realizing that he had led the entirety of his followers to hellfire, and so he was afraid of God's judgment because they would find out that he's now led them to hellfire. Let us end.
And apparently using hadith to understand the Quran or relating hadith to Quran is very deceptive. So he also has admitted that Islam is very deceptive, and I think he's actually correct there. But any Muslim who is remotely close to being Orthodox Muslim will tell you that you cannot understand the Quran better than Muhammad did, and Muhammad interprets the Quran for you. So you should go to the Hadith to learn what the Quran means when you are doubt, that the Hadith can clarify what the Quran means. But that is very deceitful. I'm deceptive. I'm very sorry for being deceptive here and taking Islamic doctrines and using them. And that I apologize for getting close to deception by talking about Islam. And that is entirely my bad. I admit it. Your religion is complete and total deception, and no one can talk about it without talking about deception, which is very bad. So we should never talk about Islam again.
All right. So I should have another short stream on Thursday, most likely. This one is about the Arabic dilemma, that the Quran itself proves that it is not divine because it gives its own the argument for its existence is an argument that it does not actually follow through on. So hope to see you then.
All right. That'll be Mary's next stream. I'll have to talk to her about scheduling, but potentially Thursday, potentially a different day. We'll see. We'll see on the date, but that'll be the next stream. Mary, tomorrow I will be responding to Mel and Lloyd's Islamic origin, and Lloyd DeYoung are the channel names. A little critique of me. I will apologize and take responsibility for anything legitimate they say about me, but I will also point out that many things that they say about me are flat out lies. So I'm obviously not going to apologize for doing something I didn't do.
Yeah. They have the timeline all whacked. Here's the truth. Here's the truth. I started streaming regularly with Thaddeus. It was a time I was actually in Texas when I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff I need to get out. Maybe we should start streaming every week. And that was it. It had nothing to do with anyone else. He could have easily streamed with anyone else that he had wanted to stream with then. Other things just aligned such that some streams, and he had streamed with me multiple times before. I just, I really need to just produce stuff regularly, have so much stuff to get out, so much stuff to talk about. We need to do a weekly stream if you're willing to host it. And he's like, oh, cool. That'd be awesome. Had nothing.
I streamed with Mary for like a year and a half before the Martin Luther quote unquote incident. And I continued to stream with Lloyd after the quote unquote incident, but apparently I chose to replace Lloyd based on that incident. So obviously, like I said, I do want to be humble and honest. I am a sinner capable of error and mistake, and I have certainly not been as good as I possibly could have been throughout this whole handling of the Muhammad mythism. So I will take responsibility and admit wrongdoing where appropriate, but I'm not going to apologize for things that are literally false. And I do feel that I should point out things that are false. If Mel is going to go on, I mean, it's mostly about Mel. It's very little about Lloyd. But if Mel is going to go on people's channels, his own or other people's channels, and spread lies about me while also claiming to have not watched any of my stuff, meaning either he did watch it and then maybe he could judge my character, or he didn't watch it and thus he's just admitting that he's making stuff up about me, then I'm going to respond to it. I know that people won't like it. I know that people will be offended. Whatever. This is how we handle things in Christianity. Yes, I know that the world will tell you that you should stick up for your own and only fight against your enemies. And if your brother does something evil, you should just cover it up and pretend like nothing happened. That's not how we behave in Christianity, and that's not how I behave. I did have one other interesting comment from Carol. Before you go, Mary, I want to get your thoughts on many people didn't realize that the phrase "the rain falls on the just and unjust alike, the rain" is a good thing. And I did think that was very interesting, right? Because Muhammad is terrified of the rain, and the Bible, words of Jesus, right, is that kind of like, why is there evil in this world, right? Why are the bad people not punished? And Jesus says, well, the rain falls on the good and the just and the unjust alike, meaning that God's blessings come to everyone, not God's judgment comes to everyone. So probably not related, and like probably Muhammad is not inspired by this saying, but I wanted to get Mary's thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, rain was understood as a blessing by practically all farming societies. It's just in the last few decades that people are like, it's raining, I can't go out, rather than understanding that rain is that which causes the fruit to come from the ground. So Jesus is saying that blessings fall upon everyone. I don't think that it's related. It's just something that all people in previous cultures where you could have famines because there wasn't enough rain that they all realized, and something that people forget today.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. That would be my thoughts as well. And it's especially odd that growing up in a desert society that Muhammad is super scared of rain. But hey, it is what it is. This is Islamophobia Awareness Month, and we are here to stamp out these irrational fears like being afraid of thunderstorms being a sign of God's coming judgment. Very irrational, very Islamophobic, if you ask me. So we're here to end Muhammad's Islamophobia. See you guys tomorrow for that stream. I'll have out a video within the next day or two as well. It'll be taken from my live stream with David, the group live stream with lots of people calling in. Just my portion though, where I go through why Muhammad's companions were constantly afraid of everything every day as we celebrate Islamophobia Awareness Month. Until we meet again, we'll close out with the words of Pastor Jake.
Pray this ceaselessly. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me.